Today we're going to be graphing a cosine function. First thing we need to do is look at the unit circle. Remember right here at 0 radians, the point is 1, 0. At pi halves radians, the point is 0, 1. At pi radians, our point is -1, 0. And at 3 pi over 2 radians, our point is 0, -1. And when we come back here to 2 pi radians, all the way around, we're again at the point 1, 0. So cosine is in the form y is equal to a times the cosine of b theta, where a is the amplitude and b tells us the number of cycles. So we're only going to have one cycle here, and our amplitude is 1. So we need to look in our graph, and when we're at 0 radians, remember our graph goes from 0 to 2 pi radians. So we're going to have one cycle, and it's going to end at 2 pi. And then we're going to divide that one cycle into 4 equal pieces. So at 0 radians, when we're at 0 radians, the cosine is 1. Remember, cosine goes first, sine goes second, so cosine is 1. And then, I forgot to label these, sorry, we divide our period by 4 to give us pi halves. So this would be pi halves. This is 2 pi halves, which is pi, and this is 3 pi halves. So at pi halves, cosine is 0. At pi, the cosine is -1. At 3 pi over 2, the cosine, again, is 0. And at 2 pi, the cosine is 1. So our graph is going to look like this. Every time, this is what one cycle for cosine is going to look like. Remember that sine looks like this. Remember, that's one full cycle of sine. That's 2 full cycles of sine. So it looks like sine. It's just this middle part, kind of sine. Cosine is. It just looks like the graph is just shifted a little bit. Okay, so let's look at number 1. On number 1, the amplitude here is 2, and the period is 2 pi over b, which here b is 1, so the period is just 2 pi. We can label our amplitude, that's 2, this would be -2. And remember, we're going from 0 to 2 pi. And remember that since our b is 1, that means we only have one cycle. So it means we're going to start here, we're going to go down, and end here. And where we end right here, that's 2 pi. And then we're going to divide this into 4 equal pieces. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then since we're dividing our cycle into 4 equal pieces, we have to divide our period into 4 equal pieces. So that's 2 pi over 4, which just gives us pi halves. So this would be pi halves. This would be 2 pi halves, which is just pi. And right here we have 3 pi halves. And then 4 pi halves, which is 2 pi. On number 2, our amplitude is 2 again, and our period is 2 pi over b, and here b is 2, which means our period is pi. Amplitude is 2. Okay, so since our b is 2, that means we're going to have 2 cycles, okay? So this was one cycle, and now we're going to do this twice. We're going to draw this twice. So we'll start here. Should go a little lower. So that would be one cycle right here, and then we'll continue down and around and end with 2 cycles right here. So that means we always end right here at 2 pi. Okay, our period is pi, so we'll go halfway here, and that will be pi. Because since pi is our period, we have to divide our period into 4 equal pieces. So 1, 2, 3. It doesn't look equal because of the way I drew it, but these should be 4 equal pieces. We'll do the same here. 1, 2, Okay. Now to find out like what this is here, we have to divide our period by 4. So pi divided by 4 is just pi fourths, which means we're going to start here at pi fourths. And then the next one would be 2 pi fourths, which is just pi halves. This is 3 pi fourths. And then this would be 4 pi fourths, which is just pi. This is 5 pi fourths. This would be 6 pi over 4, which is 3 pi over 2. This is 7 pi fourths. That's a pi. And this is 8 pi fourths, which is 2 pi. Okay, let's go to our next one down here. I want to look at actually number 5. Okay, I know that this is going to take a lot of room, so I'm going to go ahead and move it this way. And I think I'm also, if I can, really fast, I'm going to move this and go ahead and sketch it. Since I know we're going to have 4 cycles here, I'm going to go ahead and sketch 4 cycles. I'll do our amplitude, -2. So if we're going to have 4 cycles, on this one, since it's negative, we're going to start at the bottom. Remember, just like with sine. So we'll go 1 cycle, 2 cycle, 3 cycles, and 4 cycles. Okay, still not as even as I would have hoped, but it's okay. So let's, our period is 2 pi over b, and here that would be 2 pi over 4. Which is pi halves. What this means is it means that every pi halves we're going to have 1 full cycle. So if we start here and we go 1 full cycle, that means this right here is pi halves. And then we'll do another cycle. So right here we'll have 2 pi halves, which is just pi. And then we'll start here again and we'll do another cycle. So right here we'll have 3 pi halves. And then we'll start another cycle. We'll go here and we'll end up with 4 pi halves, which is 2 pi. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take each of our cycles or period, and we're going to divide it by 4. So if we have pi halves divided by 4, remember when we divide by a fraction, we multiply by the reciprocal. So that's pi halves times the reciprocal of 4, which is 1/4, and that gives us pi eighths. So we'll start at 0, and then we'll go to 1 pi eighths, because we're dividing this into 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. This would be 2 pi eighths, which is pi fourths. This is 3 pi over 8. Okay, and then we'll divide this one into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that gives us 1 pi over 8, 2 pi over 8, 3 pi over 8, 4 pi over 8. Right here we'll have 5 pi over 8. This is 6 pi over 8, which is 3 pi over 6 pi over 8 is 3 pi over 4. Right here we have, I'll draw an arrow, 7 pi over 8. Okay, and then 8 pi over 8, which is just pi. Then we'll divide this again into 4 sections. These should be equal sections. I just didn't draw it perfectly. But we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pi over 8 here. Right here we have 10 pi over 8, and 10 pi over 8 is 5 pi over 4. Right here we'll have 11 pi over 8. and then 12 pi over 8, and 12 pi over 8 is 3 pi over 4. Then again, we'll divide this up into 4 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 pi over 8. Right here we'll have 14 pi over 8, and 14 pi over 8 is 7 pi over 4. And then right here we'll have 15 pi over 8. And then 16 pi over 8, which is 2 pi. I know that that's really tight there, but you are welcome to get a piece of paper, redraw it, and draw a line. You could do it all the way across here so that it's not as compact. Looking at number 6, the amplitude is 3. And we only have half a cycle. Remember, this is what a full cycle looks like. So half of a cycle only looks like half of it, you know, like a little backwards S. So we can start here and end here. Our period is 2 pi over b, and here b is 1/2, so that's 2 pi divided by 1/2, which is 2 pi times the reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2, so that gives us 4 pi. Now our period is 4 pi, which means it would take 4 pi for us to finish one cycle, so we're not even going to have a whole cycle. And since we're only graphing to 2 pi, the graph stops here at 2 pi. And to determine, since our graph stops here at 2 pi, we're only going to have to graph this point right here, which is halfway, which is pi. We know what this is, this length right here, by dividing our period, which is 4 pi, divided into 4 sections. So that just gives us pi. So that's how I knew that this is pi. So 1 pi, 2 pi. Okay, your homework for this evening is going to be the same as it was for the first day of sign, and I think that I said that that was number 7, 10, and 11. So what you guys are going to do for homework on the back of this, number 7, 10, and 11.